Everyone, afternoon, morning, evening, whenever you're watching this. I'm going to be planting some herbs. Now, I live in Central Oregon, so we don't have a specific time when we don't have a frost. We have had snow in July. We've had hailstones that, little bigger than golf ball size, and that destroyed hay crops. Just literally on the alfalfa had just taken all of the leaves off the alfalfa, and all was left was stems and beat to the ground. The grass hay was beat to the ground. So really here in Central Oregon, we don't have a really date that you can really start planting. So in all reality, greenhouses are really the best. I know a lot of people start their vegetables in a greenhouse, which I do, and when you do plant them outside, you need to have some way of protecting them at night so that they are, in case a frost comes sometime during the night and that you don't know about. Even our weatherman will sit there and tell you Central Oregon is probably one of the hardest states, or the hardest areas to confirm on a weather. And each town from Government Camp clear to Klamath Falls has pretty much its own weather zone type. And the weatherman will tell you, okay, you're going to have frost tonight, or you're going to, but it can vary from area to area. And the best rule, if someone's going to move here to Central Oregon, the best thing to do here where I'm at is we have a mountain, and everyone says, all the old timers, and I believe the old timers, they were here a lot longer than I have, and I'm pretty old, that you watch Black Butte, because Black Butte has snow on it, and when the snow is off of Black Butte, you can think about planting outside. I have fig trees, I have a lime tree, I have a lemon tree, and I keep them in the greenhouse all winter long to keep them from freezing. Even the lemon and lime tree will lose their leaves because it's not, even with the heater that I have in here, I have a little propane, little buddy, I think it's called, propane heater that I put on at night during the winter time to keep the temperature at least between 40 and 50. I don't turn it up on high, I keep it on low, and it seems to keep it warm enough to keep these plants from freezing. And I even have blackberries in here that are going to go out this summer into their own area, and that's another thing I have to do, is I have to guard these against the deer, because the deer will come in and they will eat them down to nothing. So you have to really have a nice fence to keep the deer from coming in and eating what you have. So these are going to go on a wire trellis, kind of like what I use to wire my animals in with. And then on the round, and then the perimeter will have wire on it to keep the deer from coming in and getting to them. These are blackberries. I have, I planted some currants and some pomegranates. And I believe the pomegranates will be okay here. I just have to check more about them. But the currants actually grow wild here in Central Oregon. Currants and gooseberries both grow wild here in Central Oregon. So I'm not going to worry when I put them out. I'll put them out in an area, but I'll have it to where I can protect them from like any heavy winds or hail or anything like that. So I'm going to plant some herbs today because I don't really want to start my vegetables yet, because this is only the end of February, so I don't really want to start them until about maybe mid-March, end of March, because like I say, you're not here, you don't usually plant outside until almost June or even the second week of June. It all depends on Black Butte. If the snow is off on Black Butte by the end of April, then you can think about planting outside in the first week of June or so. Still, when you do plant outside, you need to make sure that you have some way to protect them. Either buckets, large planters, put them in planters, bring them in and out. Have an area to where you have some maybe PVC pipe, the black hoop pipe, and just, put hoops out and then put some plastic over the top of that to protect them during the night. So if we do have a frost, they don't become frosted. So I already have rosemary growing. I have down here and I need to trim these off. This is sage. I have a couple plants of sage. I have another plant of rosemary. This is chamomile down here. This is rosemary. This is chamomile down here. And I can't remember what this is. I didn't mark it.
I don't know, but you always love the smell of this rosemary.
Yeah, maybe this is rosemary. Now this is rosemary. This is thyme.
I remember now.
I get all confused here. Yeah, this is rosemary because I can tell by the smell. And this is thyme, chamomile, and sage. This is sage. And then I have some rosemary over there. As you can see, my little greenhouse is pretty packed. But most of this, like I say, is going to go outside during the summer. Like the fig trees, all these 3 fig trees will go out. And you can see this one fig tree, he's trying to leaf really hard. He's just a little guy, but he's trying to leaf really hard. This is a hardy kiwi, and he stays in pretty much most of the time. I have one in the house too. So they're gonna stay in the house or in the yard, in the greenhouse. Let me see. The strawberries are going to come out of these pots. They kind of got wild. I had them in here and this pot here, and they kind of went wild. So that's why we have strawberries everywhere. They're almost like a weed in a way. Actually, most of your vegetables and your herbs and stuff are nothing but weeds anyway. And so this here is tarragon, so I am going to plant this. The deer came in and were eating on this rose bush I got from a friend, and she gave me this rose, and the deer came in and broke it off from outside. And so I seen him do this. I've never done this before. This is the first time I've done this, but I've seen people do this and have them root. So when these little guys start rooting, then I'll plant them in another pot. But here's a tarragon. It's got little teeny, let me put my glasses on so I can see where it's flowing. Old age and half blind and deaf. I turn my back. My daughter is really good at turning her back on me, walking away and talking to me, and it's like, okay, whatever you said, I guess it's okay. So, and my grandkids do it to me too. And that's who's holding my camera.
I'm sorry that I turned my back on you.
I think they forget that Grandma's deaf.
It's hard to remember when you
This is a tarragon. It looks like little needles off of a tree of some sort, but that's what they look like. That's a tarragon seed. And I'm going to put a whole bunch of these in here because I think some of these probably won't grow. I think anything that doesn't have a little white speck on it probably will not grow. So, and there's a lot of those in here. So I'm just going to plant what I have in my hand. I still have a bunch in the bag. So if something doesn't grow, well, we've got more to plant. Also, I planted some basil, and this basil here that I planted is, I got it from an old basil plant that I had. We let it go to seed, so that's a seed, the basil seed that I have, and that was off of a basil plant that we grew. So I let some of these plants, like my radishes, I let them go to seed. The bees came in and pollinated them. And so we have radish seeds. I try and keep seeds from the following year so that we have seeds all the time to constantly replant. So anyway, here goes the tarragon. Sounds almost like a dragon. I'm going to stick these in here like this. I'm just going to put them on the surface. And then I'm going to take some fresh, more soil, and I'm going to sprinkle over the top of these. I don't want too much because I don't want to bury them too far. And then I'll water them. And then I got these little guys at the Dollar Tree. There's 10 in a package. So I wrote his name on here and put the name of the in there because I don't do that a lot. And then I plant and get busy planting and I forget, oh, what was this? And with the signs, I can see what it is. So that will help me there. And I will put him, it, her, he, what, right there. These are green onions my daughter planted to
Which aren't getting any
try to get them to grow big, and I think there's too many here, and I don't think it was warm enough all winter for them to really grow. She planted some hot peppers, and they're doing okay. Some come up and then they die off, but this little one here, he's been a real strong plant. And like this one here, I think I broke that leaf off, and that's him. See if I can glue it back on. Nope, doesn't work. But anyway, I just got through watering him and them, and don't think this one's going to stay here. As soon as he gets big enough, like he starts filling this out, and it'll probably be about June, I'll put them in these pots that are outside. I have these pots here. And this is the rose bush that the deer ate on. So I got one of these whirly-majiggers to keep the deer away. This here is another flower I had gotten. And I'm going to plant him in here with this. There's also some daffodils in here that are getting ready to come up. I have a pot in the greenhouse that has daffodils, and they're coming up. I'm going to go show them.
I don't even know where the daffodils are.
Where the peas are?
This thing?
Yeah. You see them coming up. What they were plants that were outside that the people, before we bought this place, had planted, and so I dug them up because they weren't doing anything, and I put them in a pot, and I think I forgot they were in a pot. Dumped the dirt in one pot, so the daffodils wound up in there, and then I found another pot that had them, and so I just put them in here with their dirt to help this rose. But these pots here, I have several of these here that are going to be, that I grew last year. I grew peppers in, and the peppers did fantastic. They did better than out there where the old greenhouse used to be. The old greenhouse I had bought from Harbor Freight, and it was an aluminum one. And here, like I say, in Central Oregon, our weather is goofy. They said we were just going to get a couple of inches of snow, and we got 4 feet overnight. So we were all getting our shoes and coats on to come brush the snow off of the greenhouse. And as we opened the door, it collapsed. So that was the end of that greenhouse. But I saved the plastic and I used it on this greenhouse here. So that's where this greenhouse came from.
Sorry.
And so I have a whole bunch of these pots, and I'm going to put a lot of the peppers and stuff because they did really, really good in here because of the. They don't do so good outside because, like I say, at night here it doesn't stay hot all night long. It gets down into the 40s at night, and so for the peppers to really do good, I think the soil in this, with the sun heating these here, because the sun hits this really good, so it heats up the soil really well. And so I think that's why these peppers did so well this year in here. Also, these are self-waterers. I had gotten the idea from Arm's Family Homestead, and he had gotten it from another gentleman. I can't remember the gentleman's name at this time. And I'll remember it when I get done with the video. And they work really, really good, and they really help on saving water. So if you're in an area that you don't have a lot of water, these are ideal for that, because then you water them like maybe once every 2 weeks, and there's gallon jugs in there that hold the water, and so as the water evaporates out of the soil, it comes out of the jugs, out of the bottom of the jugs, and filters up into the soil, so it keeps the soil damp all the time as the water evaporates. And so they do really well. And with the heat on these buckets, I think it's also helped the peppers grow really good. I mean, we had peppers that were more peppers on one plant. I think we had like a gazillion, not really, but quite a few on a plant. And we didn't can any. I wasn't prepared for canning this year, and I should have been. But the kids, they're really good about wanting hot stuff. I mean, like habanero hot. I think there's even a hotter pepper than habanero.
Ghost pepper.
What is it called?
Ghost pepper.
Ghost pepper? Oh, I guess it makes a ghost out of you. I don't know. But I'm not into the real hot stuff. I don't mind a little mildly hot, but
apparently the ghost pepper can damage your stomach. That's how hot it is.
Oh, wow. So, but they love hot stuff. So I always buy the jalapenos at the store. And so I didn't buy any because I told them, I said, you have tons of jalapenos out in the plants out in those buckets, so go get those. So they went out and they had picked several of them like they usually do when I'll buy 4 or 5 of the jalapeno peppers at the store. And so they'd come out and they started chopping them up and putting them in their salsa, and found out that these peppers from our garden were hotter than the ones that we had gotten at the store because they were fresh. And not knowing how long they've been sitting in the market before you buy them, or even how long it takes them to even ship them here. So that's why they decided that they'd only use a couple peppers in their salsa from now on because it was so hot. It was hotter than normal. So even I guess.
It's as hot as my scalp right now. I feel it catching on fire.
And it's probably 55 today, and you would never believe, but the snow just finished melting off Monday.
I think it was Monday.
It snowed. I know it snowed just a fraction Saturday or Sunday of last week, of this week. The 20-something, 22nd or something.
I think maybe
and this is what, the 28th. So the 22nd of February we had snow, but not a whole lot. I don't even think we had an inch, maybe a half inch, and it all melted off. But we did have 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches here not long ago. But in the last 2 years, we have not had the deep snows that we used to get. When I lived in a town north of here, we would get like up to your hips. We'd had it even here when I go outside to go feed the animals, I'd be in snow up to here. I fell one day in the snow. Well, that's almost impossible to get up. I had a feed bucket with me. It's a good thing I pushed the feed bucket in the snow, and then I was able to get up. But I kept putting my hand, and my hand would just go clear down to the bottom, and it's like, I ain't getting up out of this. So I put the feed bucket there, and I just pushed myself up and got out. So, but we used to get about 5 feet of snow here, but the last 2 years, we haven't been getting the snow. The snow used to start in like October, because I used to have to dress the grandkids up in their heavy coats and everything, and then put their costumes over the top of their coats to go trick-or-treating. And then they were in, or we took the coats off, they ran up to the door, did their trick-or-treating, ran back to the car and put their coats back on. And then we did that, and then snow would start in October and probably wouldn't end until about mid-March. But now, over the years, it's been lessening. Just like, it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we had that 4-foot snow that caved in the greenhouse. So
I remember once it got so cold that I was an idiot, stuck my tongue to the truck, and ripped off half my taste buds.
Yeah, it's not too good.
My mouth was filled with blood.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing they all grow back though.
Not for long.
So, but anyway, if anyone is thinking about whatever town you're thinking or state you're thinking about moving in, it's best to talk to the locals about when you get ready to plant, what can you plant? What lives here? What trees can you plant? Like we have apple trees, we have pear trees, cherry trees. I'm trying to think whatever trees. I think people grow peach trees here too, and plum trees. I think those grow pretty good here. Citrus fruit, no, it ain't gonna work unless you have a greenhouse.
You can grow dragon fruit here, I think, in a greenhouse.
I don't think in the greenhouse I can do dragon fruit probably in the greenhouse, but I don't think I can plant it outside because it's a tropical fruit, so it would need to be inside. And certain vegetables, corn. I know there's one gentleman here, not too far where I live, that grows corn. And I don't know what his yard looks like, so I don't know how he grows his corn, but he has corn all the time.
This camera's getting hard to hold. It's getting so hot.
So, whatever you do, if you're going to move to whatever state, I don't care what state it is, find out from the locals exactly what grows, when you can plant, how long, because we have maybe, we don't even have a 90, I don't think we even have 90 days to grow stuff in. I think maybe 75 days or 80 days maybe, because it starts getting cold in September here. At night, we can have a frost in September. So it gets pretty cold.
You can have a frost during the summer.
Well, yeah, we've had frost in the summer. So like I say, here in Central Oregon, we don't have a specific frost-free day because it's just Central Oregon. And even our, like I told Sid once before, even our weatherman says it's really hard to predict the weather here in Central Oregon because the way the weather pattern is. I don't know if it's the mountains, if it's the terrain that has something to do with it. I know as you go north, we go down in elevation. As you go south, we go up in elevation. So as you go south, you're going higher, so the weather is totally different there. And when you go north, the elevation drops, so the weather is totally different there. The weather is different here than it is there. It's different here than it is east of us. It's different here than west of us. And so...
Don't forget that it gets so hot here during the summers that it will sometimes burn your plants.
Yeah, it will. We've had like 107 degrees here at one time. So it can get pretty hot. But then at night, it will drop clear down to like 40, 45.
So hot.
Sometimes 50, and so, yeah, It's crazy here.
It's 90 in the greenhouse.
It's 90 in the greenhouse, so we need to open up the couple of windows and
This thing.
let the
Don't know
air
how to
through.
open it. That's the bottom.
At the bottom.
I don't know how to lift it. Okay.
Right about there should be good. So that should let some hot air out.
Well, I know how hot it is because I just touched my head and I can feel the heat going into my head.
And then we have a little bit of a wind right now, and it's a little cool, so.
Oh, we have to stop recording. The camera's getting too hot because of how hot it is.
Okay. Anyway, subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Really don't care which, but please do subscribe. It will help my channel a whole lot. I'm just starting out. I wanted to start in the greenhouse so that you know, and explain what Central Oregon was like. Totally different than back east, you know, in the south. My son, one of my boys, lives in South Carolina, and his, you know, he can grow pretty much year round. I guess they did have some pretty cold weather here recently. So anyway, y'all have a good day, and I'll talk to you in the next video. And like I say, please subscribe and have a great day. Bye. Thanks.